Well, good morning, guys, or it might actually be afternoon for you, but welcome, Joel, Luke. Appreciate you joining me on the show today.
Morning.
Thanks, Paul.
Excited to be here.
So you guys own and operate Mactech, which is specializes in all sorts of things, including on-site machining and lots of things I'd love to have you guys share with us. But Luke, I ran across your profile on LinkedIn, I don't know, a month or two ago, and you were highlighting just how much you love working with your dad and the culture. It was clear when I kind of dug into the company. So it looks like you guys have just like a really neat company, neat culture, really supportive, and it seems like your employees love working there. And I'm like, these folks are going to be awesome on the show. So I'd love to hear a little bit of the background of the company, and both of you, and
Sure.
we'll get into it from that angle first.
Go first, Joel.
Okay. Yeah, thanks, Paul. It's great. It's great being here. I really appreciate the opportunity. Background of the company goes back to founded in the 70s. Basically, kind of a not unusual scenario where a guy was a salesman and he couldn't get product to support his efforts, so he started making his own and filling in some gaps, and that turned into a business. And in the 80s, they added the machining side, which is the current Mactech business.
Okay.
And it's really built around on-site machining, which is taking precision and machine shop attitudes to the field where you can't bring a part or a product into the machine shop to be repaired or modified. So we work in power plants and refineries, and shipyards is a big market for us, and OEM manufacturing, just a variety of things where you go out there and fix it. And I came up here in the 90s. I knew the company from a previous existence, had a relationship with them, came up here in 94 and thought it was going to be a 3 or 4 year program. And here I am 30 years later, which is probably the LinkedIn post you saw. Bought the business with my partner 15 years ago from the widow of the guy who was the founder and kind of my buddy, and really great fella. So that's kind of the background. Luke joined us. Luke can fill in his background when he forced me into hiring him by accident. And I didn't know he wanted to work here, and he did. So he pulled the trigger on that, which totally thankful for. I don't know. That's the big picture. Go, Luke.
Yeah. I was sort of, that post you talked about, Paul, is 30 years for Joel at Mactech, and I did some mental math and rewound 30 years. He was 38 when he started at Mactech, and I'm 38 right now, and I've been at Mactech for 12 years. So I just like the fact that I have the opportunity to potentially beat his score. We're a little bit competitive, so I probably have the capability to go longer than him if I want to.
We'll see.
I love it.
We'll see about that.
So 12 and counting. We'll keep you guys updated. I started working in the business actually over the summers in college, just sweeping floors and greasing machines and kind of just a greenhorn deckhand. If you watch that old crab fishing show, just the runner guy that did whatever somebody wanted me to do. Painting boxes and painting stuff I shouldn't have been painting. I know I still get in trouble with our ops manager for that. My name is on a sawhorse somewhere that it shouldn't be.
It's true. It's still around here someplace.
And that was just that at the time. I was young in my education and career and just needed something to do over the summer and make some money. And after college, sort of took the mindset that I didn't want to go work for the family business, just to go out and get some experience and make some hay on my own and find out what I wanted to do. But I ended up working for a digital marketing agency, which I really enjoyed. Don't even know what year now. It doesn't matter. And I was in both the marketing and also responsible for getting new clients when I was working for that marketing agency. So I kind of went the route of like, who's the easiest person to sell to? Your dad. sometimes, and actually started working with Mactech in kind of a client account manager relationship for 2 years. So Mactech was a customer of mine for 2 years, where I got to kind of learn about the business and see it from the outside and work as a marketing arm for them while working for someone else. And a couple of years later, I ended up going back to grad school to get my MBA. And one of the things that kept coming up is all those classes in grad school, they ask you to like bring a real world example for a project, and go find someone's balance sheet and review it. Go find business law. Go find a contract and review it. And every time I had one of those in class, like the real world company I used was Mactech. So I was like, I can get the accounting statements from that, or I can get a contract to review, or I can try to put this to work. And then we were sitting at I attended a trade show with him one day, and just to experience it. And we were sitting there, and it was kind of like, I like working for you. Well, I like working with you too. And so we just decided to do it. That was the job offer. And awesome. Ever since then, we've been working together, and I run our sales and marketing department and really enjoy it, and also try to keep Joel's shot collar working to make sure he's behaving himself.
That's true. Those are all true stories. That's good.
I definitely get the impression you guys have a lot of fun.
We try to have fun. I mean, I've always just my kind of 3 rules of business are, really give it your all, give it your best, make money at it, and have some fun at it. Because you spend too much time and effort, and you're separated from your family enough as it is, and consumed by it. So you might as well enjoy it. So we don't take ourselves that seriously around here, and it's a real open place. You can say anything, do anything, pretty open books and stuff. But when it's when it's go time, we put our heads down. We're pretty serious about doing a really good job.
Yeah. So Joel, when you bought into the business or took it over, what did it look like at the time? Was it pretty much the same as it is today in terms of the scope of offerings, or did you evolve that in the last?
No, it kind of evolved. It was an interesting time. It was a really fortunate time that it was right on the cusp of capitalizing on Hurricane Katrina, which was a game changer for our business. We were brought into the recovery efforts for Katrina and cutting up all these abandoned and destroyed and wells and production platforms and stuff. And there was a huge multi-billion-dollar effort going on in the Gulf of Mexico, and it had never been done before. And somehow we were fortunate enough that a guy that I knew asked us to come be a part of their team, and we brought a kind of a different skill set to that party than people were using at the time. We brought an on-site machining mentality, which was our background about how do you do things and how do you cut things up or machine them in the field. And we brought that kind of energy and expertise in our problem-solving methodology, which is different than some, rather than just keep plowing away with the same old tools. And we were really, really fortunate and caught a lot of work. I mean, it went from our business literally went up in about a 3.5 year period. It went up 4-fold or 5-fold in total revenue.
Wow.
It just exploded. And we financed this all out of pocket. And in the process, we had just bought out the business. So we were leveraged 100% basically. And we were really fortunate. It was very profitable. It worked really well. So at that time, that business had a very different profile. And then you remember the BP disaster, Macondo disaster, that actually took away about 60% of our business. So that huge growth immediately evaporated back to nothing. So, but we had a very conservative partner, and I'm a pretty conservative guy myself. So we had socked away some money in buried some coffee cans of cash around here. And we had also reinvested in the business quite a bit because we was still going. The rest of the side, things we did was still going. So we were reinvesting in that. So we were really fortunate that we were able to stabilize kind of huge growth, drop back 40%, stabilize, and then rebuild from there. So our business today has got, probably didn't have it at the time. We have 3 offices, one in Red Wing, Minnesota. This is HQ, admin, engineering, manufacturing is all here under this roof here, 50,000 square feet. Then we have an office in Paducah, Kentucky, which is kind of central region for the United States for service work and supplying equipment. And then we have an office in Broussard, which is Lafayette, Louisiana, which is mostly doing an offshore decommissioning and abandoned work, which is still a big part of our business. It's probably 40%, 35% of our business last year, 30 to 40%.
Oh, wow.
So it's still a big deal around here. So,
and the Red Wing shop, I know you mentioned manufacturing takes place up there, but would be more familiar to some of Paul's listener, your kind of usual listeners that are used to seeing a machine shop with Haas machines and whatnot. We have field machining equipment that goes out in the field and machines thing on site, usually mounted to the piece rather than putting it in a machine to machine something. But that shop, we actually manufacture that equipment that we use out in the field. So we do have some of the traditional manufacturing machine shop type processes going on up there to make the tools we need to go be successful in the field.
Yeah, we build our own tools. Our revenue stream is we do contract work where we'll come out and do the work. We design and build and sell equipment, standard line of equipment, as well as special one-offs, and we rent equipment. We probably have 400 to 500 tools in our rental fleet. So, yeah, like Luke said, we've got a full manufacturing cell down here that occupies about half of our building probably, which is, 10 CNC machines and some old manual equipment, gear hopper and stuff like that we still use. And that keeps us busy and keeps us out of the pool room some days.
So I'm glad, Luke, you described it a little bit. If you could a little more for those that, and I'll encourage people to go visit your website. So this is like equipment that has built-in motors and cutting heads and clamps, and you just like attach it to a pipe or to a fitting or to something with magnets, with whatever, and then it does machining right there on the piece, right? Is that how that all
so
works?
it's usually mount. So in a typical shop machine process, you have a tool bit and you rotate the piece around the tool bit to cut it, bevel it, bore it, mill something. We take a piece, a good example of that is a clamshell lathe that mounts around a pipe, and it actually has a rotating tool bit that will be driven by a air or hydraulic or electric motor and machine the piece on site by actually moving the tool bit across the piece rather than the piece across the tool bit.
Fascinating.
All sorts of applications. I think Joel already mentioned it, but there's plenty of people listening that know what they're doing in the machining world, but there's a lot of, if something's stuck in the ground, too big to be brought into a machine shop, or just, needs to be machined on site, it's a good candidate for on-site machining. We're talking refineries, power plants. We get into wind energy with, machining up in the towers and big install things like that, where dragging something into a machine shop or even finding a machine big enough to do something like that. Lots of times it can be cost effective or easier or just more convenient to bring the machining to your site.
Really cool. Yeah, definitely encourage people to visit your website. We'll make sure that the links are all in the show notes, but it is, people want to go, let's just mactechonsite.com, MACTECH onsite.com. And so, Joel, did you, start some of the facilities that you have now, or were they all three existing when you took over?
No, we the Kentucky office, we actually acquired a line of equipment. It was probably the oldest on-site machining equipment supplier in the country, maybe the world. I don't know. It's called Multiple Boring Machine, which had been building line boring equipment back in the 30s or 40s. I'm not sure how old it was actually, but we acquired that. We're the third owner of that. The one guy had bought it from the original founder, and we bought it from him because it wasn't a fit with him, and we added that. So we just kept that there till we figured out what we were going to do, and now 20 years later, it's still there, and it's a nice growing operation. I guess there's, I don't know how many people, 12, 15 people down in Kentucky now, something like that. Staff maintaining the equipment, 20,000 square foot facility, 8 or 10 technicians going out in the field from there. It's good. Mm-hmm. And then in Louisiana, we were actually, the company I referred to that had brought us into the game, we used to office with them and warehouse with them under an alliance agreement. And they decided that they wanted to self-perform rather than maintain the alliance. And that was fine, because what they did actually is they gave us a purchase order for, over $1 million worth of gear to get into the game that we were already in. So we took that purchase order, and the profits from that matched and more than matched what we sold them, and went into business right down the street from them against them. And they're not playing anymore, and we have this nice little niche business down there that's really cool. And I mean, we're just, you never think, I never thought we'd get here, but we're like a worldwide leader in that game. And I always think day to day, what are we going to do? How do you solve this problem? But we really have emerged as something special in that game. And that's really because of our attitude about the way we approach things. And I'm really, really, really proud of that. And that's really fun. So we started those two. We actually opened an office in Ohio, which we subsequently closed. It just didn't work out regionally and stuff like that, because if we don't manage it and are really confident and comfortable, we're just not going to do it. We'll take risks, but they're risks that are built on our experience curve and stuff that we're confident of. If we get out of our zone, or we get people that don't fit up with our core value structure, we just won't do it anymore. And so that's kind of where it is. And then this office we moved into in the middle of the growth spurt. We were in 6,000 square foot manufacturing facility and 2,500 through 3,500 square foot of warehouse and some other stuff. We were like in 4 places, and we moved into this facility and got to lay it out the way we wanted. And that's worked really well for us.
Nice.
We now have a little bitty shop up in Marinette, Wisconsin, because that's our biggest customer, is up at the shipyard at Marinette. So we've rent a little space up there. So we're the local player.
Okay. When you had that experience through Katrina and quadrupled or more in a couple of years, I'd love to have you share what that was like. I just had an interview yesterday with a shop owner with about a 200-person shop, and he talked about how growth phases are what stress the company the most, right? And it's great opportunity, but at the same time, there's big risks to upset things and systems, and it can even, possibly, negatively affect your throughput and quality and even your profitability potentially, depending on how that growth is managed. So, 4 or 5Xing in a couple of years is pretty crazy. How did you survive that? How did you manage it? How did you keep on top of it in terms of everything from hiring people and just all of it?
Yeah, it was organized chaos. It was, I'm a huge believer that, things happen once or twice or 3 times in your career, in your life, in your personal life. And, that's how you get married. That's how you hit a home run. That's how you throw the touchdown pass. That's how you hit the big hit in business. And I just don't think most people aren't out shopping for that. It happens. So,
yep.
We've always tried to run the business that, you make a living, you do pretty well at it, but you're always prepared to grab that brass ring if you see it and chase after that big opportunity. So we did. And, it was really crazy. I mean, I remember being in Lafayette, Louisiana, and calling up here and saying, like, guys, this is it. This is the real deal. This is lightning in a bottle. This is when it's going to happen. They're like, no. I said, I'm telling you, we could quit tomorrow and just deal with Chevron and make a living and make a really good living. But there's about 5 Chevrons down here and they all want to do business with us. So, so we really just grabbed our bootstraps and went like hell. I mean, it was really, we put out we built a couple hundred machines in a 1.5 to 2 year period to put into the fleet and stuff like that. And that was a big effort because we were used to building 1s and 2s at a time. And there's not a very structured machine shop, not really tooled up to do that either. But we just did it. And mostly through energy and a lot of open communication because there were like 3 or 4 or 5 people that needed to know. And we just made sure everybody knew everything that we possibly could. We didn't really have systems. So it was a lot of stand-up meetings and Post-it notes kind of deal. We were hiring like crazy. We made some bad hires because you almost had to be a little bit reckless because it was so hot. But we would, I think to our credit, we cut bad decisions off quickly. And I think that's a key to success for anybody in life and business is when you find yourself in that hole, quit digging, just cut it off. And we did a good job of that, of getting rid of the scallywags. Financially, it was tough, but it was only tough for a short while because the margins were pretty phenomenal. Most of the revenue was rental revenue. So it didn't have much variable cost related to it. Once it was built, we owned it, and we weren't digging into anybody else's pockets. We had bank loans to buy the business, but we weren't pulling on any operating loans and stuff. So it was really, we were just living checkbook to checkbook. And once we crossed that curve, got over that hurdle, then it was a cash cow. Then it was really good, and we paid off a lot of debt and stuff, and it worked really well. My partner Dave was an accountant and admin guy. He also ran production at the time, and so he and I just sat 15 feet apart in an old office, and I would yell at him what we needed to do, and here's what we got, here's what we committed to doing. When can we have these? And he would scramble, and had another guy who's now basically the integrator for the whole company, chief operating officer, so to speak. He would just drive, getting the equipment to the right place, getting it in the right order, getting the right people on board, and running that side of the program. At the same time, trying to keep up with the rest of the business, because that was a business in and of itself. We didn't really need to do anything other than that. But, we had customers from 15, 20 years old that we still got to take care of those guys. And some of the people didn't want to go offshore. So it was just chaos, and it was stressful, but not keep you awake at night stressful. It was the most exciting time in my business career. I was just like, it was like, man. And I would call and I'd say, Sam, we got another one. Wow. And we would just do it. And we'd get out there and mock something up and play with it. And a lot of hands on, go home dirty a lot of days. And I'm no engineering. I'm no operating guy. I come from a financial background. I don't know much about this stuff historically, but I would just dig in with the folks, and it was mostly just energy, and everybody knew what was going on. Everybody had some fun, and we made some money. It was just positive. It was stressful, but in a good way. It was a good push.
That's cool.
Yeah, I think this is probably a warning shot to, you said you talked to someone else, Paul, that had is having a big influx of business. And my warning shot, and this is just kind of calling out Joel, but we're pretty close. He lets me do this. My warning shot is, we had that high. We rode that high, and we rode it without much process. Joel talked about Post-it notes and him and Dave sitting 15 yards apart and, shouting at each other and just figuring it out. And so when you kind of come back down from that high, someone like Joel or leadership might say, if you're trying to improve a process or take a piece of software and use it, he says, well, we did 4x this back in 2010 and we didn't have all that mumbo jumbo, process, procedure, whatever. We just figured it out. We made it happen. And I think both points are valid, but I think being even more prepared or ready and having a process to handle it when it comes back is just as important. So don't let Joel Bogart, don't let your Joel in your office, whoever's listening, tell you that just because you did it 10 years ago doesn't mean you shouldn't enhance.
Yeah, that's true. That's totally valid, Luke, because our systems and processes today they're top shelf. We're doing things a lot more organized. We're a lot better at it, and we're a lot better prepared. But when you do that, you gotta be careful. You gotta keep that entrepreneurial spark. You gotta keep that can-do attitude. And the reason we succeeded in those times with the Post-it notes and the yelling is because we did communicate well. That was the key to ingredient. We didn't have a system to communicate. We didn't have set meetings or procedures, but we yelled loud enough that all 4 people that needed to know that were on the same page. It was literally, and I learned a lesson early enough on because my role in the organization has always been revenue. It's been sales related pretty much. So I just learned the lesson that you can't make a commitment without talking to me first. You can't make a time commitment without talking to me first, and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. So after violating that rule 6 or 7 times, I finally, I said, okay, you're right. That's getting us in trouble, isn't it? I better listen to you this time. So it really was communication is the key ingredient to why it worked and stuff like that. And everybody it was fun. We just had a good time too.
That sounds pretty exciting. So when things then came, you said it slowed down after the sort of Katrina. Did you have to do layoffs or
no?
Was it just got down to a more normal pace or it was sustainable?
It got down to a scary pace that was tough. We had some of the workers offshore were contract workers, so I don't call that a layoff. They weren't full-time employees. They were contracted by project. So that's the only time we've ever really used them. I joined the firm in 1994 full-time, and we had 42 employees on an employee count by my memory, something like that. And the first month that I was there, I got the January financials, and I said, Doris, how'd we do? And she said, well, we had $14,000 in revenue last month. I'm like, oh, that's not good. So we had a layoff. We had a layoff then. I said, we got to cut some people out of here. We can't feed all these people. We laid off not that many, 6 or 7, 5 or 6 people. And until COVID, we never had a layoff. We've never laid anybody off because of business slowdown until COVID hit. And we found ourselves where we had to pare back in COVID. And that was mostly that was a redundancy or people are going to be heading out and retire in the next couple of years. Anyway, we kind of pushed them off the diving board a little early, but no. So when we got back, so we had never really, we were pretty cheap. I told you that once. I'll tell you again, we were pretty cheap. We had never ramped up our cost structure that much. Even going through the roof with all this stuff, we had to add some people and some capacity. But we wrote checks for the equipment that we needed, so we didn't owe anybody any money next month on it. We paid for it, and we just operated off of that. And we didn't ramp up people too much. We had some more people, so we still had a level of business, but we just kind of held our own. We treaded water for probably 18 months, I would say, before we started getting back up the curve and stuff and moving back up. And our business is now, if it went up there to there and came back 40%, we're back up to just about where the peak load was, So we just built it up 15, 20%, 10, 15% every year since then. And some flat years. It's not a straight curve by any means in our business.
Yeah, sure.
Just kind of identify and say, hey, we've got these resources. Who needs us? What are we good at? Where do we go? Typical marketing sales strategy, and then enhance our capabilities. We spent a lot of time and effort increasing our capacity and our capabilities as an organization since we had the financial wherewithal and some time, because we weren't as busy as we wanted to be, to train and teach. So we do a lot more intricate, difficult, high tolerance work in the field than we used to do. And if you're going to, for instance, remachining a flange, which we do a lot of in the field, they're going to pay you a lot more money to remachine an 18-foot diameter flange than they are a 18-inch diameter flange. So
18-foot diameter.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got equipment that would go up to about 20-foot diameter on the working space and stuff like that. So
that is amazing. Wow. I didn't really have the scale down. I'm glad you said that.
It's fun. It's pretty neat.
Yeah, I'll bet. Absolutely. Do you guys have like YouTube videos and stuff about how your equipment works if people want to go check it out?
Yep. We have some. We always wish we had more. It can be hard in our industry that, I wear the marketing hat because you go into sites where cameras aren't allowed and phones aren't allowed, but we try to get as much as we can and put it on there. We have some basic videos on almost all our equipment, and anything we get from the field that is that our technicians haven't put their TikTok slander over and I can share without getting in trouble with HR, I try to get on there. So
don't you, good time to talk about your monthly challenge on video and photography, Luke.
Oh yeah, I know, Paul, you asked about culture and things we're doing, but he's just mentioned we struggled to get pictures because, like I said, all of our stuff goes out the door and gets used out in the field. So, lots of a machine shop, you can go and get your nice camera out and take pictures of something going, but it's kind of hard to send a photographer along with your guy that's badging through a refinery work site or whatever in tight spaces. So we started the Benjamin bonus photo contest where I have a link that all the techs can submit photos through, and every month we pick the best or favorite or whatever photo, and that person gets $100. So
I like
been going for like 5 or 6 years and going strong, and they like it and we like it, and it's a nice way to get photos in from the casual photographers we have out there.
And do you use those for marketing purposes or for internal team communications and
internal teams, marketing, everything in between?
That's a cool idea. I like it. So speaking of teams, you have 3 teams in 3 different sites, plus maybe other remote people. How do you keep the team, tight in terms of culture and communication and just staying connected? And how do you pull that off?
We have.
Go ahead.
Well, everybody has their. I'm sure the default answer is, well, we have a meeting for that, or we have we have our weekly meetings, and they're good, and we've really honed those into to be actionable and share a personal positive and a professional positive from last week, and just get everybody grouped up. But one of the items we've really come to love and think that it like really brings the whole organization together is we started something we call a fireside chat, and it's every 2 weeks. It's Joel and myself. I build a quick slide deck. It could be 5 slides long. Some weeks it's 20 slides long, depending on what the topics are. And the topics are usually very organic.
Tomorrow, I'm telling you, it's going to be long tomorrow. Luke's taking the lead.
Yeah. So, but we bring in good news. We bring in the pictures from site to share, successful jobs. What are we doing? If we sign a new customer, we talk about that. If someone within the organization is promoting positive, acting on positive core values and doing something good, we promote that. If someone has a baby or graduates from
Right.
something or has a success in life, we try to promote that if people want to be on there. Some people don't. Try to
Got
get
it.
permission when I can, but it's really just become kind of like this. It's like our internal podcast to our organization on good things that are going on, sometimes bad things that are going on,
Sure.
addressing issues or fixing things or saying this happened, let's make sure, or let's do something to make sure it doesn't happen again. And it's fun. We like doing it. The feedback from the group seems to be that they like watching it. I put it on YouTube on a private channel, and I can see how many views it has, and it only goes to our employees. So I can kind of get a gauge. I can kind of get a gauge of viewership, and it's like at least 75 to 80% of everybody who gets it watches it, and people seem to like it, get comments, and I don't know. It's become a cool thing that we really like, and it started out of COVID as well. We were, when COVID, literally like the first week COVID started, all of our customers kind of shut down, and there was this question of what the hell was going to happen next week. Like, people wanted answers, and our decision was to just, and that at that point in time it was just Joel. We just said, well, let's just do like a weekly let's do a weekly fireside chat where Joel just updates on everybody that what's going on, and kind of like calms the crowd down a little bit with facts and information. And then COVID kind of rolled off, and we just started saying, well, this is a good way to present information to the organization. Let's just share good news or share bad news or share whatever. And it's evolved from there, but it's a great thing.
I'd say, those are actually great points, Luke. I think you said what keeps us together, what keeps us doing the same thing. And about 6 years ago, we adopted Traction EOS operating system, and that changed us. I mean, it's a dramatic change because, like I said, we were loosely structured would be an understatement. So, but the three things that came out of that were, first of all, you have accountability for everybody in your organization. Everybody has a role. Everybody has accountability, and everybody knows their accountability. And then from there, you build processes and procedures. So you have one process followed by all as one of their mantras. And you don't do it exactly because we're figure outers. We're solution. We're MacGyvers in a lot of ways. So you can't just have a fixed deal, but you have to know how to think on your feet and do things and stuff like that. And most importantly is we end up developing, in our case, 5 core values. And when you make all your decisions in the organization based on your core values, and all your employees and partners and team members believe and embrace those core values, I mean, that's it. I mean, we make decisions on whether you're going to get to be a customer. We'll disqualify you as a customer if you violate the core values.
Wow.
Vendors, employees, people, decisions. So if you do that and you're consistent, and it doesn't happen overnight, but over time, when you have those 3 things, it's pretty powerful. And the guys in Kentucky and the guys in Louisiana, if you go in one shop or the other shop, they're doing different stuff. And golly, I mean, I got to tell you, people in South Louisiana are different from the people in Central Kentucky. That's no doubt. But they're the same. We're doing things alike. We're doing things in the same way. We care about the same stuff. We know what's important. We have scorecard items that everybody knows that's important to the organization. And, and then, Paul, we share, with the exception of exact profitabilities and exact details, it's pretty much an open book around here. Everybody knows what's going on, and size of values and revenues and where we stand on our profit sharing goal. And it just makes it easier. Once you decide to make that commitment, which is hard as an owner, I'll tell you, it's tough to just say, like, okay, I've been hiding all this stuff for 30 years. I think I'm just going to share it all. It's kind of tough, but once you do it, it's a lot of freedom, and you get a lot of people pulling the same way. It's really cool.
So when did you put in EOS?
What was that, Luke? 6 years ago, about?
Yeah, that sounds accurate. I don't know the official date, but 5 or 6 years ago.
I was in a peer council, and the guy did it at his office and his company, and he said it really worked well. And so I went out and bought 2 copies of the book. Yep. And I put one by my bedside table with the other stack of books I don't read, and gave one to Luke. And Luke read it and said, Dad, this is good. We need to do some of this stuff. So we started implementing, and then we had an integrator come in and pitch us whether we should just go all in and jump in the pool. And we decided to do that, and we decided to do it with his assistance for first year and a half, maybe 2 years. So, and I would encourage anybody that if you decide to do it, don't play at it. You got to decide. You got to make that commitment. And I would do it with an outside helper. It's really tough to do. It's a very time-consuming process to get through that. But I'll tell you, the benefit is 3 years ago now we got ISO certification, and that was a very short process relative to what it would have been if we hadn't. We had all the systems. We had a lot of the systems in place. We just didn't call them the right things. We didn't use the right terms, but we had most of that. So we got our ISO certification 6 months or something like that. And I'm pretty proud of that. That was cool.
Yeah, that's insightful. That's that EOS would have a lot of the same sort of principles that ISO would.
Yeah, it really does. It's all about identifying mistakes, open communication, customer driven. The ISO now is really customer driven, bringing value and what's important to the customer. Where I used to, like most people, used to think it's a big old stack of books in the back that you had to keep up as a pain in the butt. But there's a lot more to it, and it's quite honestly, we didn't do it to improve. We did it because customers said, if you had it, we'll do more business with you. We did it for the same greed factor that most people do. But it's been a good thing for us.
That's cool. Is that financial transparency one of the principles of EOS, or is that something you decided to do?
No, that's just us.
In parallel.
That's just us. That came about because this is our 3rd year now, I guess. We implemented a very broad profit sharing plan, a short-term incentive plan that every employee participates in. So one of our values every year, one of our goals, one of our values is to share profits with every employee in the organization. So, and last year you can hit a target level, you can break the barrier level, which means you get into the program and you hit a superior performance. And last year we were fortunate to get up in the superior range.
Nice. And what have been the positive benefits of having that profit sharing compared to not having it?
Yeah, people think like owners a little bit. That they pay attention to waste and cost more than they used to. They kind of look around and they watch each other's back a little bit. Hey, it'd be more cost less to do this, or it'd be more productive to do this. And a lot of employees just think that the company is just like this enterprise that just has a big pot of gold up here in my desk. We just go reach in it when we need some more. The company will pay for it. Well, we're just renting money from the end customer. They're just processing it for them.
Right.
So it gets them thinking like owners, gets them paying attention to productivity. I think, and they see the scorecard every month. We broadcast little red or green lines what we did last month, and to show generally the revenue curve. And we do forecast and share what our targeted revenues are for the year and what we did last year. And every quarter in EOS, we have a quarterly leadership meeting and a big annual meeting. But at the end of that, we tell everybody in the fireside, we go through, what did we accomplish? Did we hit all our goals? Did we make all our rocks? Which are your big things that you have to get done? And then what are your targets for the next quarter? What are you working on? What's your target for revenue? What are your key scorecard ingredients that you got? We got a couple of scorecards that live in the lobby of everybody's office. We've got how many days worked we've had without an injury, which is now probably about 175 or something like that. We're a little over 2 years. 725, I guess, or 735. I don't know, whatever the number is. A little over 2 years. We've got the number of machines shipped. We just count machines shipped out the door. That's not a dollar value. That's a pulse. And so that clock is ticking every day down there. Like, here's our target. We need to get to 6,000 machines shipped by 2025 or 2026. And it's down at 3,346 now or something. So just pulse items like that. And people see that. Manufacturing guys, we're probably a target for you, Paul. We don't have a lot of integrated software systems yet. It's kind of coming around. We're kind of rebuilding some stuff. But, the guys know what their utilization rate, how many hours got booked into the bills of materials and stuff like that, and how many were just lost or didn't go on.
Got it.
I mean, everything that's booked goes on the shelf around here because we're building our own product most of the time. So we have a mechanism to store dollars on the shelf. They're not just all expense items. So
got it.
I
love that.
From my perspective, sort of a cultural motivation type thing, it creates, you talk about everybody rowing in the same direction, and I think it can be really motivating no matter what department you work in. And I know I told this story to you, Paul, but it's kind of like Chevy Chase and Christmas Vacation, where the old way at Mactech was that, it's not like we didn't give something to employees, but we had like a holiday Christmas bonus that Joel or Dave, owners, would go hand out, and everybody liked it, but nobody had this pulse on the year. It was just the end of the year came, and you opened it up, and it was like, oh, I got $10,000. Great. That's really nice. And then the next year you'd open it up and you'd be like, I got $500. Like, that's
Sure.
great, but I just signed on for a new pool to be constructed in my backyard or whatever. Like, I thought I was maybe going to get 10. So,
sure.
And now we have clear visual into every month where we're at. If we're behind, you think about the Super Bowl, and the last person you ever want to play is Mahomes when he's down by, or Joel down by a touchdown or whatever, because he's going to go score. But I think even if you are behind on your metrics for the year, that drives a lot of fire and energy in the employee base to go find that next job, or go find that customer, go find those customers that have quotes in their hands that let's go figure out when we're going to close this and stop them from saying, well, that slid to the right.
Yeah.
Right.
Well, let's slide it back to the left somehow.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's true. Our business is built around, hitting singles and doubles and stuff like that. But there's always, every year there's 2 or 3 opportunities for a home run, which is, a really big ticket item or a big ticket project or something like that. Mm-hmm. That can turn things really quickly, like Luke said.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. I like it. What on the sales and marketing front, obviously you're in a pretty niche business. I don't know how much competition there is, but how do you get your name in front of companies you aren't in front of yet, or grow an account that maybe is smaller?
Yeah, so most of it's based on two I consider them sort of basic, but we do a lot of demand gen marketing, like educational type marketing on the actual marketing side of LinkedIn advertisements, pay-per-click advertisements. We do a lot on Facebook, which I wasn't a believer in when I first started, but I even see like our techs liking our ads and stuff on there. So I know that's where maybe some of our customers truly are in their spare time. And a lot of that's just trying to figure out what our customers' pain is. There's several companies that do what we do, but what do we do better? We believe it's customer service and being able to respond to our customers quickly and make a plan and set it to action and go do the work, and being able to really tell that story to the customer, and whether they want something today or something a year from now, having Mactech in their mind. We don't have a truly kind of forceful demand funnel. It's all about educating them on who we are and why we're better than everybody else.
Sure.
Why you should choose us. And it's cool to see. We have a fireside chat tomorrow, and I'm sharing a presentation, and I have one that contacted us through our website February 10th of 2023 and bought something February 11th of 2024. So,
Wow.
there can be some long-tailed sales in this business, and you got to keep reminding people that you're here and you have the right equipment, and there's people to work with. You asked about contacting new customers. Our sales team does do a lot of their own prospecting and list building and custom. A lot of this can be cold calling, but it's also face to face and getting in front of a customer and seeing what their needs are and making sure we share what we do and how we do it and how we can help them.
Yeah, I think the other thing which Luke implemented last year, and Luke's over sales and marketing both as in the organization and actually wore both those hats, but he segregated the duties last year. So his primary day-to-day is on the marketing side, which is kind of the lead and demand generation and focus on that. The sizzle and glitz that's hard to measure. And his partner, Derek, is in charge of the sales function. So then he's more directly involved, and we have 6, 7 outside salespeople, basically 6 or 7 outside salespeople and 3 inside salespeople. So Derek is the outside salespeople are directly reporting him. So they're actively following up. What's the lead generation? What do you need? What do you need to close this? Very active on the sales management side. We're devoting more energy and time to that. And that's working really, really well, in my opinion.
Do you guys have a target for how much, like as a percentage of revenue, you spend on sales and marketing?
Yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
We do on marketing. I craft a pretty good. I started budgeting in this organization before anybody else. So
we didn't know what the word meant. We didn't know what that was.
Yeah, it's not an enormous amount, but it's grown over the years. It's like, and it's one of those things that depends. Like, are we factoring in the sales salaries and commissions, or is it just marketing? If I'm speaking like just pure marketing, which is trade shows and pay-per-click and marketing services, it's like 5% of revenue is like the usual goal, but that goes up and down because people are like, can we go to this trade show? And you do some crunching, and sometimes it makes sense to go, and those in a small business, those can add up pretty quickly when it's like, well, if we're going to commit to this, we're going to commit to it well, and there goes another $20K in your budget, which can add up quick.
Yeah, we do a really good job. We really never budgeted much until, again, 3 years ago on a very formal basis. And we've done a really good job of that. And I would say Luke does an exceptional job of that. He knows his numbers inside and out and is very careful and yells at people if they start spending his money. And he knows how to slip things into other people's budget so it doesn't count against him too. He's pretty good at that.
That's a
key
skill.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I know that if you are going to spend more than $2,500, you have to submit a CapEx form. So I break it into $24.99 chunks of 3 equal payments of $24.99.
Nice.
I don't know what to do anymore, because now when I spend money, so where do I put this? I don't know. I don't have a budget. I don't have a department. I don't have a budget. Stick it someplace.
That's funny. So Luke, on that marketing side, can you attribute where your sales come from to which channels you found them in, like trade shows versus pay-per-click?
Yeah. So we every opportunity we run a CRM called Pipeliner Sales. Not as many people have heard of it. Very, very similar to HubSpot, because I actually do some marketing stuff in HubSpot, but a little bit more simple. I always call it the Ford F-150 of CRMs, because my blue collar employees can use it and not get lost in it. But every opportunity that goes in the system has a input source and a input source subcategory. So the input source is trade shows, subcategories Houston Rodeo Barbecue 2024, and those guys are down there right now, and any opportunity they have come from that show will feed back into the system. When leadership
Anybody in
says,
Houston, come to the barbecue, buy some stuff.
when leadership says, like, what did we get out of spending $5,000 to go do that? I can point to them and tell them, and for my own budget and just results driven mindset, I can look where leads are coming from and where they're working and focus on the stuff that's working rather than try to do 1,000 things, do 3 things really well.
Yeah, more rifle approach than shotgun approach.
Yeah,
that's smart. So today in 2024, what are the biggest things you guys are working on in terms of challenges or things to move the business forward?
Bringing new product and process to the marketplace faster. To meet, to kind of be at the edge, be at the front edge rather than kind of a trailing edge a little bit. So try and accelerate things internally, I think, is an important factor. Trying to get our manufacturing to turn a little faster. Try and get out of the supply chain doldrums, which I find the whole world seems to be in. Everybody thinks that 2 or 3 or 4 or 6 more weeks is okay now because that's just become the new norm, kind of. So we're trying to beat that because we want to be the first call. We want people to call us first. We want to be the first one to reach out to them when we have an opportunity or a lead. So keep that energy up. I would say that's kind of the key factor. And then new business development. We have some targeted industries. The marine and the shipbuilding industry is a key target for us to really go after. And we're doing really well in that sector. And I think we're really good at that. So we got some value we can bring that's different than other people. And that actually it's nice because it has a nice forecast right now. The Navy and the shipbuilding business is very busy, and it looks like it's going to be that way for the next 5, 6, 7, 8 years and stuff like that.
At least, yeah.
It's always nice to go hunting where there are wild game, So if your customers are profitable, I've always found it's a lot easier to make money off them.
Yeah, absolutely.
What if they have deep pockets and aren't profitable?
Exactly. If they're the government, that's fine. Take their money.
I would point directly to one that actually has gotten a little bit better, but hiring and sort of replacing an aging workforce. It's a pretty common mentality amongst the industrial world, I think, if you follow anything on LinkedIn. But I think it's getting better. But it's I say this from our organization in a very specifically targeted position, and that's a field machinist. So
great.
These guys, they can learn the trade, they can figure out the trade, but they also have to be someone that wants to live on the road, be somewhat of a road warrior. They're going to spend a week, sometimes 2 weeks away from home. They're going to be asked to, hey, we got a job starting on Wednesday and you're coming back Monday. They spend a lot of time down in the, if Micro is ever listening, they're doing the dirty jobs and they're doing it away from home. They don't get to shower up and go home at night.
Yeah.
Having said that, it's not every single day of every single week, but they spend a lot of time on the road, and that's something I think it's harder to hire for because you got to find someone that's interested in it. You're probably not going to get it's not like we don't have techs with children, but you're probably not going to get any like young people wanting to start a family that wants to also be a field machinist and spend half of their time away from home. So
of course,
it's a very specific, tough hire, and we have some people that have been doing it a long time and aren't hanging up their cleats yet, but we'll have to figure out roles for those people and kind of keep bringing in fresh faces. And we've found some really young guys that are really good at it, and it's not always someone that's interested in field machinist. I think even on our website on the hiring page, it's like, are you a kid that enjoyed taking things apart and putting it back together? Or are you someone that's good with motors or mechanics or machines, or are you a shop machinist that wants to kind of go see the world and see some new places rather than sit in the shop and make
Yeah.
parts, you know? So there's a little bit of an adventure there too for people that want
Yeah.
to go. We got guys that work on cool naval projects. They're in the bellies of refineries and power plants and launch pads and offshore, and it really
Wow.
is, you know, lots of people in the manufacturing space say this, but the jobs are really what is kind of driving the US and America and other countries and international stuff forward. Where if you need power or you want your light bulbs to work, we probably played a part in that, and it's just kind of a fun industry to work in when you think about it that way.
Absolutely. I'm glad you mentioned that you're hiring, and I do suspect you might get some applicants after this show comes out. But yeah, I gave a talk a couple of weeks ago about recruiting and hiring and how important it is in your job ads to speak to that persona of someone that likes to tinker, that is mechanically minded, that, you know, loves taking apart their motorcycle on the weekends and tuning it up, and they might be a great person to be a machinist, but they don't even know that because they're not even familiar with the job, right? Yeah. So that's great that you're getting creative that way.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of a scary hurdle for people to say, yeah, I want to do that, because it's an unknown. It's a pretty specialized deal that not many people know much about it and stuff like that. But we're very active and adamant about training. And, you know, we're going a lot deeper into the communities now. We've got 5 kids from Red Wing High School now on internship working with us. We're just really teaching them, you know, what's going on around here. What does the industrial world offer you? What does our company offer you if you're interested and stuff, and it's kind of spreading the word. And the one thing we're doing is, I'll repeat it again, though, is that we're living off our core values. And we used to get really nervous and scramble and say, we got open seats, we got to hire somebody. And we would hire bodies and hope. And we just don't do that anymore. We'll forego some revenue or some performance in the long run, in the near term, to get the right thing in the long run, because we want the right people. And we've been hitting really high percentages of the people that we hire stick and stuff lately. So we're pretty pleased about that. That's crucial to making it really work in the long run.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said this a few times on the show. I didn't expect conversations about core values to be such a prevalent topic, but it comes up pretty much every single time. And
it's pretty amazing. It's pretty amazing. I was one of those guys that thought it was like, okay, let's get in a room and make a mission statement. Okay, we'll get some core values and we'll put them on mouse pads and stickers and posters and put them up. But you know, when you start breathing them and living them, and you watch other people around you doing the same thing, it's cool. It's really cool.
I love that. Awesome. So just to wrap up here, as we're getting up to our time, what advice would you give other shops earlier in their journey to have the same kind of long-term enduring success that you guys have had?
You want to go first, Luke?
You go first.
Okay. Well, you don't have anything left to say then. No, I would. I think the key, and I'm not very good at this historically, but I think one of the real keys is to sit back and build your team of who your partners are going to be to go to battle with, and do that, and be real open and really be open and honest with each other about strengths and weaknesses and opportunities, and really identify what you want to be and what you want to do. And I'm a huge believer in the thing I talked about is find a way to make a living, find a way to run your business, but always try and create that avenue where you can grab the big win that's coming, that shows up, that you can go hunt that elephant when it happens and stuff like that. Luke's got a good term for this. He can fill you in on it when it goes his turn. But I think it's about being open, and everybody knows where you're trying to get to. Surround yourself with the key players that you want to do it, and then and then put a whole lot of energy into it, man. Just go hard.
Mm-hmm. Good stuff. Bring us home, Luke.
I think back to a favorite quote that a sales mentor of mine gave me, and he started his career selling typewriters. So
Oh, wow.
he's old and he knows what he's doing. And he's worked for like Zig Ziglar for a while. But the quote that always stuck with me, and knowing him, he probably didn't make up this quote. He just stole credit for it. But he always told me, your process is perfectly designed to give you the results that you're getting. And in that sense, everybody has a process, and if you're getting bad results, your process is perfectly designed to give you the bad results that you're getting.
Yeah.
And that quote has always stuck with me. And early on, I tried to write down our sales process, and that is kind of my advice for everybody, is to not what button do I push every single step of the way, but really write down your processes that drive your department or your business forward, and who does what and how they do it, because it makes it easy when things aren't working to kind of figure out what section of that you might tweak and make a change on to get better results. And it's really helped me, and I did it with the sales team for a long time. We have a sales process document, and when someone does something incorrectly, it's easy to point to the guide sheet and say, that's not how we do it. We've all reviewed this. Do we need to review it again? And if someone says, well, that doesn't make any sense, you say, okay, well, let's talk about it. And if we need to change it as a group or an organization, we can do that. So that's my advice to most, as boring as it sounds. If you create like everybody on this call has read hopefully they've read the operating instructions for the Haas machine they're using today or whatever, and it tells you how to use it. And someone's put a lot of work and effort into making sure that it allows someone to read it and operate safely and efficiently, and keep the machine oiled and tuned and maintained so the next person that uses it can use it. And I kind of treat the sales process document in that way too. Like, if I were to get hit by a bus, someone should be able to pick this up and like at least somewhat run this sales team. So
great advice. Yeah, that sounds strikingly like a value stream map, and using the lean terminology.
Yeah.
And also goes back to, one of my favorite books of all time, The E-Myth.
I haven't read that one.
Where you haven't read that one?
No.
Oh, go check it out. You'll love it. It's called The E-Myth Revisited by Michael Gerber. And it talks about how the E-Myth is that if you're an entrepreneur with a craft, you'll be good at running a business that does that craft. And that's just a myth. Most people are not good at it.
Exactly.
But if you design and build your processes as if you were going to franchise them and open another branch of your company the next state over, if people operate off of a model like that, that's what's most profitable for your one business. So you just, like you said, if you got hit by a bus, how would someone know exactly how to run your sales organization?
Yeah.
It's that standardized processes. So awesome, guys. So if people want to reach out to you to learn more, we'll certainly make sure that your website is linked up in the show notes, but how else would you recommend they do that?
You can pick up the phone and call Joel.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I yell at people every day to get off the dang text or email message and call people and talk to them. Old school is really good. So pick up the phone and call us. Get on the website, follow any of those links, hit that contact. You're going to give us a test if you really want to, and see if we don't get back to you within 24 hours, probably faster, probably same day. Everybody go to the LinkedIn site. A lot of people on our organization are linked in there. Connect through that. If you can't find us, you're not looking. So that's what I have to say. And reach out anytime. If you want to come take a look around and see what we do, you don't even know if you'd be interested or not, go knock on the door and say, can I get a tour of your shop? I think I might want to do this, or my son's getting out of the Army in 6 months, and I'd like to see what goes on around here and stuff like that. We love entertainment. We love walking people through what we got. We're proud of it. It's fun. We love having open houses and inviting our grannies and our kids and our neighbors and as well as our customers to them. So if you, like I said, if you don't find us, you're lazy. You're not looking.
Okay. We'll make sure everyone has all the channels to reach you. But thank you, Joel and Luke. This has been super fun. You guys just have a great energy and chemistry, and I'm sure it permeates through the whole company.